Hey y'all, hey. You know what today is? It's Thursday. Come on in the room. Let us know that you're here. If you're here, drop a blue heart in the chat so we know who are on here and watching with us today. And I encourage you guys to do what I'm doing. Like, share to your post, share with someone who may be interested in hearing about what we got talked about today. Good stuff. So I've liked and shared. I hope you guys are doing the same. And so again, we're so excited for another Therapist Thursday conversation. If you're new here, hello, I'm Kiera Johnson. I'm a associate licensed counselor here in the Mobile area and serving the state of Alabama. And so I'm just a mental health professional who took a vow to come on here every Thursday to answer your questions about mental health topics. Okay. And so what people do every week, they send me questions via our website, which would be thekierajbrand.com. And it's a message box in the bottom right corner where you can submit your questions around mental health. And each week, I'm answering those questions. Okay. And so you can do the same. So be sure that you go ahead and submit your questions so we can prepare for our upcoming weeks of Therapist Thursdays. Okay. And so, again, if you are in the room, drop a blue heart in the chat so I know that you're here. So I know who's watching and tuning in with us today. Okay. So we have a question for the day. Okay. So today's question is, if one person in a marriage sees a therapist, do you think the other person should go to therapy? And would the couple eventually need to go together? I thought that this was an awesome question. And so we're gonna get into it today. And so hello. Welcome. Come on in the room. Again, thank you. Like, share, tag somebody so they can look at this video. And so yes, so today we're gonna discuss whether or not if one half of the couple is in therapy, should the other person go to therapy? And would eventually the couple needs to go to therapy together? Awesome question. And so first, when we think about therapy or going to counseling, that means that there are some parts of our life that is not operating or functioning in the way that we want it to do so, right? And so if you need that assistance, then of course you'll find you a therapist or counselor so you can start this journey of, rectifying these areas and kind of uncovering the layers that's presenting these concerns in your life, right? Okay, cool. So we must determine just our personal health, right? And if we see that our personal health, which includes our physical, mental, emotional, psychological well-being, then we need to, of course, reach out to those resources to assist us. And so it sounds like, one person has decided to do so if they find themselves in counseling. Now, depending on what their concerns are in counseling, would also determine whether or not we need that extra support or assistance from the other party of the couple. And so, for instance, just say you have one partner that may be dealing with some past trauma, right? Some experiences of their past, or maybe they're trying to, process some of their upbringing and history or family dynamics, or they realize that they have poor communication skills and they want to, address these things and become a better person. Absolutely amazing. Doesn't mean that the spouse or the other half of the couple needs to be in therapy with them, but they just want to go on their own personal journey, right? Which I think is awesome. I think personal growth should always be a focus to everyone, right? Because there's always a new level that we can grow to, right? So I think that's awesome. Okay. And so the other thing we need to consider, am I going to counseling because I'm experiencing some type of discord, disconnection, or needs are not being met within my relationship or marriage, right? So if that is my main concern for going to counseling, then Of course, one would think about, okay, well, should I just do this by myself, or should I have the other party here involved so we can work through these things together? Okay, I think both of those things should be definitely considered. I do think it's beneficial that both parties, um, seek some guidance, some counseling of some sort on their own time, as well as together, especially if they're seeing concerns within the relationship, right? I think it's always beneficial because we all have blind spots. We all have things about ourselves that we're not aware of or that we're not sure of. And so it's always, it can always be helpful to have an outside party to assist you with kind of identifying those blind spots and give you some tips and tools to rectify those things. And so when you guys come back into the relationship or the marriage, that we can operate more smoothly, right? Um, and one thing that we got to think about too, if we are having issues or if we're trying to consider whether or not my person is just going on their own personal journey or is this something that we should do together, we got to think about the start of the relationship, right? We got to think about, okay, how do we come together? Right? Did we have wise counsel around us? Did we go to counseling? Did we go to premarital counseling? Are we clear about these different areas of our lives even before we decide to become one? Right? And for some of us, we didn't have that, that space and time to go through that process or address some of these concerns. And so now that we're in the marriage or in the relationship, these different things are kind of coming into fruition and we're having to deal with them for the first time. Okay. And so that may be a reason why the both of you may need to consider going to counseling to kind of work out or sort out some of these things together. Okay. Because also, if you kind of go through this process before you get into marriage, you have a better idea of, our upbringing, how we deal with conflict, what are our thoughts about money, what are our thoughts about sex, and what are the expectations of those things, how do we deal with family. We get to kind of process through all of those things on the front end. But if we haven't done that, now it's showing up in the marriage, and now we have potential discourse, and now we have potential, things that we're not on one accord about. So counsel would definitely be beneficial to kind of sort those things out with an unbiased third party, right? Okay, cool. And then of course, counseling also just provides support. Again, if you're in a space where you and your person are not getting along and we're both not seeing the other person's perspective, it's always helpful to kind of have someone else, as a facilitator to help you guys assist with getting to, the goals that you guys are trying to reach. Okay. Okay. Um, if the concerns that you guys are having are not about the relationship, but it's more so about your personal growth areas, then I do think it would be beneficial for the other person, so the partner or the spouse, to possibly come in to session maybe once or twice just to see how they can be of support to their partner based on the concerns that they're having, right? So we see this a lot when we think about substance abuse, right? Or we all know the show like Intervention, like you have a support system, you have your family that kind of come in and assist you with reaching your therapeutic goals, right? So we always see that with addiction, but it may be some other areas of your life where um you just need to identify your supports that can also help you in your process of growing in said areas, right? I think that's helpful. Um, but not all the time is it necessary for the other partner to have to go to counseling just because I'm in counseling, right? Because again, we also on our own journeys, even though we're doing life together, everyone's on their own journey. And so we don't necessarily have to be on the same timeline or maybe dealing with some of those same things that will call for both of us to have to be in counseling at the same time because the other person's in counseling. I don't think that's necessary, right? Again, we should consider counseling if we see that the issues that we're having with each other are coming into the marriage, and so we need to go address this together as a united front. Okay. So again, marriage counseling, couples counseling is beneficial. So You have a safe space, a thinking space, a facilitator, a thinking partner, where we can kind of identify the blind spots, do some education, do some, digging or uncovering the layers so we can get a better idea of what's actually going on, what's causing the issues in the relationship, and then how can we go about addressing these issues and getting on the same page, right? Because a lot of times, of course, when we think about relationships, we're coming from two different backgrounds. We're coming from two different perspectives, and a lot of time we don't know how to relinquish our perspective, or we don't know how to be willing to hear or compromise or come to a middle ground because we're so locked in and married to our experience, our perspective, and how we view things. And so if you're so locked in, married to how you view things, and it's always right or the best option, of course, it's going to present some issues when you think about the relationship or the marriage, right? So again, it depends on what's actually going on in the relationship. So I see some people in the chat. Let's see. Good stuff, good stuff. Support is so important. Absolutely. Again, we were not created to do life alone. So we need support. And so again, if you're in your journey, in your growth process, and you are, seeking outside support from a counselor or therapist, that's one form of support. And then two, knowing that your support from at home is also willing to assist you and support you in your process as you're trying to get better. I mean, it's a win-win situation, right? And I know sometimes this can be a difficult conversation, especially if, we are having issues in the relationship and we have a party that's not willing to seek out resource, seek out help, or they don't feel as though anything is wrong um in the relationship, right? So of course that can bring about its own challenges. And so that'll be a moment where, of course, you seek out your personal your personal support and help through counseling and therapy, and work on yourself, your part. And then as you go through your journey, then decide how you want to move forward in the relationship or in their marriage, or what are those things that we need to address as a unit that I've kind of discovered as I've been doing my own work, right? And so I guess one of the main things I would say today is don't allow your circumstances or the actions of the other person or the other party determine whether or not you should get the help and resources that you need, right? Because some of us, if we're just gonna be honest, sometimes we get in relationships and we put all of our eggs in that person, and everything is subject to that person. We become very codependent, and we put ourselves on the back burner, or we don't do the things that we need to do to make sure we're taking care of ourselves so we can, present, more healthy in the relationship. And so sometimes we will not do things that we know we need to do at the expense of the other person, or because we feel as though it's going to cause some harm, or it's going to cause some friction or some resistance from the other side. But at the end of the day, if you're not where you need to be, then you also can't provide to the relationship what it needs, right? So it can be healthy. So please reach out to the resources that you need. Please go to counseling or therapy if you need it. And if you are having challenges in your relationship, it is okay to do your work separately as you guys come together, which I feel like is the best way to do that. Because again, when you think about a relationship, it's not just one side, right? It's both sides coming together, to make this thing work. And so, that's why self-awareness is so key. Like always, taking this time to kind of check in with yourself, where you are, what you're feeling, what you're thinking, what I'm doing right now, providing me with the tools necessary to reach my goals. It's always great to kind of do that self-evaluation. And so when you kind of recognize that, hey, I'm not where I need to be, then you're able to reach out to those resources that's necessary. Okay, awesome sauce. So is there anything else that you guys would add that can help one determine whether or not they need to go on their own journey, or this is something they should be doing together when we think about a couple or marriage, right? And I also want to say, I do think it would be helpful talking to my believers out there, which my pastors always suggest this, like, hey, before we even get to the stage of marriage, let's go to counseling. Let's just make sure we're compatible, we're a good match, we're going in the right direction before we invest all of our time into the relationship. This is just a shameless nugget. Okay. Even before we get to, marriage counseling or getting married and all that good stuff. That's why premarital counseling is so important. We don't have to just do that when we're thinking about, we're about to go down the aisle. We can do this, months into the relationship just to make sure that we're going in the right direction. We're on the same page. We have the same values. We have the same aspirations of life. And so this is someone that I want to take take things to the next level with. We don't have to wait till we're years in to then decide whether or not there's somebody I want to, go deeper with. Like, you've already given them 2, 3, 4 years of your life, right? And so I would say do it sooner rather than later, right? Your time is precious. It's something that you can't get back. And so let's do all the preventative measures on the front end rather than the back end, right? Now, granted, you're going to have us therapists and support systems and resources here. If you decided not to do the preventative measures, on the front end, we're still going to be here to support you. But if we kind of cover these things on the front end and kind of mitigate some of the fluff and some of the issues that we have on the back end when it comes to our relationships, right? Wise counsel is beneficial. Okay. I know a lot of times we like to try to figure things out on our own, and we don't want to get people, quote unquote, in our business, and we don't want to rely on other people for counsel, but that's why we're here, right? So whether it's a therapist, a counselor, a coach, a spiritual leader, a pastor, or whoever, go sit in front of somebody to make sure that you're heading in the right direction, and this is something or someone that you should be involved with, right? Let's just knock it out in the beginning. Save ourselves some time. Save ourselves some hurt and pain. Because again, if we're navigating through some of these traumas and attachment styles and history and all this stuff that we're coming into the relationship with through those lenses, we may be missing some things, right? Those blind spots. We're operating through those blind spots unknowingly, right? So that's something to consider. Something to consider. Let's see. You guys are definitely in the chat. Let's see. I agree, self-awareness is key. Yes. Right? Like, before anybody can tell me anything about me, for the most part, outside of those blind spots, I'm pretty aware what's going on. And I think that's key. So you'll know when to pivot and, when you need, intervention. Premarital will reveal a lot. Yes, it will. Absolutely. Because again, especially if we've already crossed certain thresholds in a relationship, we're not seeing things clearly. The love spell is kicked in. We just seeing it through the lens of love, and I want to be in a relationship, or I want to be by myself, or I'm at this age where I'm ready to settle down, all this other stuff, and so things get clouded. We're not seeing things clearly all the time, and so it's great to have a third party, so we can make sure things are on the right track. Okay. Absolutely. You guys are so interactive today. I definitely enjoyed you guys. Again, if you are in the chat, drop a blue heart. If you're catching the replay, type replay in the chat. But this was definitely a good topic. And if y'all can't tell, I definitely like talking about relationships. It's one of those areas and so that I work with a lot. And so I get really excited about it. But I'm glad that you guys were able to hop on and chat with us today. Again, don't forget, this is every Thursday. We're answering your mental health questions. And so go to thekiarajbrand.com, submit your questions so we can prepare for our following weeks. And so we can answer your questions. Definitely would like to hear your feedback about this topic and any other tips and tools that you think will be helpful to other people, because this is about being a help to our community. It is not just about us. We don't do this because I like to hear myself talk and I think that I'm an expert in this area. Like, no, we're doing this so we can assist other people in their journey on their mental health, right? And so share this with someone. Let somebody know that we're on every Thursday at 3 p.m. Follow our YouTube page if you want to watch all of the videos in one place. It's the Kiera J channel. And so you can stay up to date on all of our latest episodes, okay? Alrighty then. Well, if there